Hello, my name is John Spangle. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I titled it Underground to represent the underground church that's present in China and Iran. I was trying to think of a name to name the channel, and then I was thinking of those two countries where Christians are being persecuted daily. As always, I'm not a scholar or a minister or anything like that. I make mistakes. Uh, I am a disabled veteran, so I'm not able to get out. So that's the reason I do these YouTube channels. It's just it helped me study the Word of God. I love to talk about God, and but always admit that I'm not correct. I apologize if I stutter. I have some health issues, and sometimes I'll stop my train of thought or anything like that, and I apologize for it. But I was talking to somebody the other day. This is how I get the idea for my videos, and we were talking about the Nephilim. So I explained to him why there was no salvation for the Nephilim. Uh, the sons of God came and married the daughters of men and had offspring, the Nephilim. But why? It's not their fault. Their parents did what they did, so to speak. So why couldn't they be saved? And I explained this to him like this: in Genesis 6:1-4, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. They were giants in the earth in those days, and also after, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. Excuse me. This is known as the antediluvian civilization. I haven't butchered that word up so much. That's a video I'll be doing later on about what we understand of that civilization. So that starts the basis where the Watchers, we know there were 200 Watchers came and decided to have wives take wives, women of the earth. Genesis 6:9. These are the generations. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with God. And I put emphasis on the Noah perfect generation meaning. According to Hebrew, I always study the Bible that we study is not Western. You know, everything's about the Eastern area and Middle East area, and that's where we look for everything. In the United States, everything we're seeing the United States fall, it's okay. It's going to fall. It's no big deal. It's going to fall around us. That's what happens. We knew it's going to happen, and it's happening now. I used to be on Twitter, and I got off of Twitter because I looked too much at politics, because it infuriates me what's going on and hearing things about people. I was putting some verses out there and talking, and I had so many people, unfortunately, comment in bad ways that I was like, well, I'll step away from this and stick to YouTube because I love to talk about God. I don't mind people putting comments. I love to research, and I always talk about what I understand at the moment, things I can learn later. But the New Testament, I use Greek references. In the Old Testament, I always use Hebrew. That's what originally they were made into. In Hebrew, when it talks about when they're meaning perfect generation, it means complete or entire, being righteous or not marrying out of his race. And this is the point I was trying to make to the person I was talking to. It's more talking about the DNA, you know, where the angels mixed with the women of the earth. Now I looked at Jude 6, and the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the day. Jude 14:15. And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000 of his saints, to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of their ungodly deeds, which they have ungodly committed, and all their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. And I'll refer back to that in a minute. I use Hebrews 2:14-18, which talks about Jesus, of course, being God, became flesh, human. So Hebrews 2:14 and 8 through 18. For as much as them as the children are partakers of flesh and blood, he also himself likewise took part of the same, that through death he might destroy him that had the power of death, that is, the devil, and deliver them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage. For verily he took unto him, not on him, the nature of angels, but he took on him the seed of Abraham. Wherefore in all things it behoved him to be made like unto his brethren, that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to God, to make reconciliation for sins of the people. For in that he himself hath suffered, being tempted, he is able to succor them that are tempted. To be that blood sacrifice for our sins, Jesus Christ had to become flesh and let himself be sacrificed. He could have stepped off at the cross at any time, but instead he allowed it. That's the reason why I can't emphasize how much of a great love Jesus Christ had for us, because he felt pain like we feel pain. I have chronic pain because of my health. Sometimes I have trouble even walking. I have to use a cane. And that's nothing compared to the pain that he suffered for us. I have previous videos. I recommend watching the video about the Garden of Gethsemane, where I talked about how he was under such stress that he sweated blood. And that is, I explained that it actually can happen to a person. Now, I used the book of Enoch. There's 3 books that were used for reference with the Bible that were not included in the Bible. People try to say they were supposed to be in there. They were not. That was the book of Enoch, book of Jasper, and Josephus' works. Now, we have an accurate account of Josephus' works. He was a Greek historian that wrote about everything. The book of Jasper, there's too many books out there that are copies. We don't know how accurate they are. Now, the book of Enoch, thankfully, the Dead Sea Scrolls show how the book of Enoch, we have a good version of the book of Enoch today, even though it's missing some chapters, but we could see most of it, and you can get most of it in print. You still have to be careful what you read, but I still use the book of Enoch for reference, because I know it reference to because Enoch talked a lot about the giants. So book of Enoch, chapter 13, 6 through 7, beseeching me to write for them a memorial of supplication, that they might obtain forgiveness, and that I might make the memorial of the prayer ascended before the God of heaven, because they could not themselves thenceforward address him, nor raise up their eyes to heaven, on account of the disgraceful offense for which they were judged. Then I wrote a memorial of the prayer and supplication for their spirits, for everything which they had done, and for the subject of their entreaty, that they might obtain remission and rest. Then in book of Enoch, chapter 15, 1 through 4, then addressing me, he spoke and said, Hear, neither be afraid of righteous, this is God to Enoch, O righteous Enoch, thou scribe of righteousness, appear hither and hear my voice. Go say to the watchers of heaven, who have sent thee to pray for them, ye ought to pray for men, and not men for you. Wherefore have you forsaken the lofty and holy heaven which endures forever, and have lain with women, and have defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, have taken yourselves wives, have acted like the sons of earth, and have begotten impious offspring. You being spiritual, holy, and possessing a life which is eternal, have polluted yourselves with women, have begotten in carnal blood, have lusted in the blood of men, and have done as those who are flesh and blood do. These, however, die and perish. So the point I'm trying to make, it was the DNA of the human and the angel. The watchers were judged because they came down and left heaven and did follow themselves with these women of earth. And then their offspring was not meant to be. So the offspring were mixed human and angel blood, and so they too are damned. Jesus Christ, as I explained before, had to become human to be there for us. Now, Jesus, even though he's God and God our Creator, uh, he became human to save us. But my point I'm trying to make here, starting and everything else, is that the angels could not, the watchers, there was 200, could not be saved as stepping down doing what they did. And the children that they made with the angel mixing with the human in the way that they did was wrong. Now, I had a point that I made that someone else really argued with me about. In Genesis 6, I read you the first 4, but there's verse 5, chapter 6, verse 5. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination and thoughts of the heart was only evil continually. So a lot of times we'll go with that's the reason why God killed everybody was because of their sinful heart. That's what's taught in churches I've been to. I like to take it a step farther, from my understanding, because Noah preached for 120 years while he built the ark. During that time, I believe there's people that could have got on the ark, but they had mixed DNA. That's the reason why it talks about Noah's family being righteous. They were the last ones at the end. And a lot of people's like, well, they were like that. Well, I believe so at the end. At the beginning, there might have been some other people that weren't mixed. But God knew these people would not be mixed. If I get that to you, God knows everything. So he picked these people because he knew they'd be true, the last ones. So during that 120 years at the beginning, there was people that could have been saved, or Moses would have been preaching to them. Or Noah would have been preaching to them. So there was a point where there was other people that weren't mixed. And then at the end, they all mixed in the DNA through the fallen angels. But because of that, they were abomination, but also because their hearts were continuously evil. There was no good about them. And a lot of people's like, well, why did God kill the children? Well, at that point, all them children would have been mixed DNA. Also, God knows the age of innocent people would be up. Like, if the rapture happens, children now, young age, automatically raptured. The reason why like I said, these children were not put on the ark was simply because at that point of the ark, right before the flood, 120 years, their DNA was mixed. Now, a lot of people say I'm stretching too much. I've had one guy get pretty avid with me about it, but I could be wrong. That's the reason why I do this channel, for research and other people to research and get your ideas. And if you see something where you disagree, put comments and I'll look at it. And there are things we can disagree on, but we're still out of brotherly love. I believe the rapture is going to happen before tribulation. There's some people that were like, no, it's going to happen middle tribulation or after tribulation. And I'm not going to get into all that, because the truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter what you think of the rapture. We should be thinking of preparing every day, looking up. That's why I think it's before tribulation. But my point is, this person could be wrong about something, and we're still in heaven. We are saved by God's grace, not by what we do. I talked to somebody at the Catholic Church the other day, and they were pretty upset and getting after me because they said, because I said we were saved by God's, the gift of grace, not by grace and works like the Catholic Church teaches. And then they got after me. I said, they don't say in the Bible Jesus is the only way. And I researched it and found, I went on this one place and I was looking at all the different verses, and I was like, how many verses are there? There's a lot of verses that says Jesus is the only way people talk about in the Bible. So I went there and there's like almost 100 verses that says Jesus is the only way. So my comeback was, there's like 100 verses in the Bible that talks about Jesus is the only way. But unfortunately, that person is, they've been Catholic all their life. They're not going to change. So, and that's unfortunate, because Catholic Church is sending a lot of people to hell. Same with other Jehovah's Witness, Mormons. There's just two others that claim Christian are going, will not be in heaven. God will call them out. That's what's happening right now in this world. God is calling us out of different areas and different things in the true church. But I wanted to talk about the subject of something that intrigues me, and I look forward to making more videos. And I pray that someday, that soon, we'll be with God in heaven. Right now, I have a lot going on in my family, and there's a lot of problems. And we always need God. And that's what I'm doing. I go to God and try to live correctly, best I think that God would want me to be. Thank you. And like I said, I look forward to make videos, and I pray that some point I'm trying to make, rambling a little bit, is that we see each other in heaven. I like to hear someone say, hey, that crazy old guy, I know him. I watched his videos. Thank you.